This is a quick run through of how to do a full bust adjustment on a knit top or t-shirt. If you want to see this process in more depth, you can check out my channel or the description box down below. You need to mark your bust apex on your pattern piece. This is a really important reference point. It's the fullest part of the bust. You draw a vertical line from the bust apex down to the bottom of the top, parallel with the grain line. You then draw a perpendicular line from the bust apex out to the side seam, and another line from the bust apex up into the armhole, about a third of the distance from the side seam up the armhole. It's important to mark your seam lines because you're going to be using those as reference points. You then cut along your vertical line up to the bust apex, and then you pivot and cut up to but not through the armhole seam. You then snip into the seam allowance up to but not through that armhole seam. You then cut from the horizontal side seam line up to but not through the bust apex. You then put some paper underneath and you're going to secure down the center front section with some tape. You then want to draw another vertical line, again parallel to the grain line, that gives the width of the full bust adjustment that you need. For me, I needed a 1 inch adjustment per side, 2 inches in total, so I'm drawing a 1 inch line. You then move your side piece back over so that it is lined up with the vertical line, allowing everything to shift around at those pivot points. You've now created a bust dart, so you just need to tape all those pieces down. We then want to close the bust dart, so to do that we're going to draw a line from the bust apex to the bottom leg of your dart. You're going to then cut along that line that you've just drawn up to but not through the bust apex, and then also from the bottom of the top straight up to the bust apex, again leaving that pivot point. You then shift that side section over to close the dart and tape everything down to secure it. You then want to cut into your side seam section up to but not through your seam allowance, and then cut from the bust apex point straight along that horizontal line, again up through but not to the side seam allowance. You can then pivot the side section over to the front so that the lines are sitting flat and secure everything down again. You have now added that extra width going from the bottom of the top up to the bust apex that is then eased out into the armhole. If you don't want this extra ease going down the waist and the hip, you might decide to size down or just grade that side seam in. You will notice that the front section is now a bit longer than the side seam, which you need to get that vertical length to allow your fabric to go over the bust area. You just need to true those seams up, making sure that you grade out to nothing at that side seam so that the front and the back pattern pieces still fit together. And here you can see the difference between my adjusted piece on the bottom and the original pattern piece. This is my adjusted Tilly and the Buttons Freya top. I'm really happy with how everything fits across the shoulders, across the full bust area, and I like this little bit of extra ease that I've got going around the body. I really hope you give this adjustment a try. Let me know if it works for you.